Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Sally. I'm an IELTS teacher at the West London Tuition Academy. I wanted today to talk to you about the IELTS exam because it's really important that you understand each part of the exam and what it involves. So we're going to look at each part of the exam in detail. So that's the listening, the speaking, the writing, and the reading part of the exam. So let's get started and look at each part. So let's think first about the listening part. Now, the IELTS listening test is designed to assess you on a wide range of your listening skills. So they include understanding main ideas and specific factual information. You also need to be able to recognize the opinions and attitudes and purpose of the speaker. And finally, very important, that you can follow the development of an argument. So let's look at that listening part in more detail. You will listen to 4 recordings, and these are going to be with native English speakers, and then you have to answer a series of questions. So recording number 1 is a conversation, usually between 2 people, and it's set in an everyday social context. So it could be something about renting an apartment or buying tickets. Recording number 2 is a monologue. That means one person is speaking, a bit like today. And normally it's something about local facilities. Recording number 3 is a conversation. Now that can be a conversation with up to 4 people, and it's set in an education or training context. So for example, a university tutor and a student discussing an assignment. And finally, recording 4 is a monologue on an academic subject. So perhaps this might be a university lecture. Now, what is the timing of this listening part? Well, the IELTS listening test takes approximately 30 minutes. And you are given 10 minutes extra to transfer your questions from the answer booklet onto the answer sheet. Very important that you do that because they only take in the answer sheet. So make sure you always remember to transfer your answers at the end of the listening. So what about questions? How many and what type of questions are there? Well, there are 40 questions altogether. And the type, well, there's a variety. It could be multiple choice, maybe matching. It could be labeling a plan, a map, or a diagram. It could be completing a chart or a summary or sentence completion. Let's now think about the reading part. Now, why do they have a reading part? Well, it's there to test you on a wide range of reading skills. So you need to know to be able to read for the general sense of the passage. You need to be able to read for the main ideas, read for the detail. You need to understand inferences and implied meaning. Recognize the writer's opinions, attitudes, and purpose. And again, follow the development of the argument. What's the format? Well, the format in the IELTS reading is 3 long texts, and they can range from descriptive and factual to discursive and analytical. And these are taken from books, journals, magazines, and newspapers. And the timing, well, it's 60 minutes, and that's including transfer time. So again, you have to write your answers on the answer sheet. It's not enough to write them just on the answer booklet. So always remember to leave yourself time. Now, with the reading part, they will not tell you, oh, now transfer your answers. No, you must make sure that you're watching the clock and leave yourself time to transfer those answers into that answer sheet. So the kind of questions that you'll have, there'll be 40 of them. It's a chance where you have to perhaps fill in a gap of a written text or table. Maybe you'll match headings to written text or diagrams and charts. You might have to complete sentences. It's possible you have to give short answers to open questions, or there may be multiple choice questions as well. So let's think now about the next part, the writing part. Well, the IELTS writing test is designed again to test you on a wide range of skills. It's going to test you on if you can write a response appropriately. Can you organize your ideas? And can you use a wide range of vocabulary and use your grammar accurately? Let's think about the format of the writing. Now, we're looking today or the moment at writing part 1. You could be presented with a graph, a table, a chart, or a diagram, and you will be asked to describe or summarize and explain that information that's in that chart or table in your own words. So this might involve describing and explaining data. Perhaps you might have to describe the stages of a process or how something works, or describe an object or an event. What about part 2 of the writing? Well, in task 2, you will be asked to write an essay in response to a point of view, an argument, or a problem. Now, hopefully you should find the issues easy and interesting. So they're quite relevant ideas that they use for these writing part 2. What's the timing? It's 1 hour, 60 minutes. Now, remember though, you spend 20 minutes on task 1 and 40 minutes on task 2. You have to manage your own time. So you need to make sure that you move on to task 2 after 20 minutes. Task 2 is worth twice as many points as task 1. So don't spend all your time on task 1 and leave no time for task 2. Very important to remember that. So the type of writing you'll be asked to do. So task 1, you'll be asked to write at least 150 words on describing a chart, a process, or describing an object. Task 2 is 250 words, at least 250 words. And as I said before, remember, task 2 is worth twice as much as task 1. So don't spend too much time on task 1. Let's think about the speaking part now. Again, it's going to assess a wide range of skills. So the examiner will want to see how well you can do things like this. How well can you communicate opinions and information on everyday topics? So you will have to answer a wide range of questions. You need to speak at length. That means continue like a little monologue using appropriate language. You have to organize your ideas coherently. You have to express and justify your opinions. And you have to analyze, discuss, and speculate about some issues. So let's think about all of these different parts. So the first part is, of course, part 1. And here the examiner will introduce himself or herself, and they'll ask you to introduce yourself and confirm your identity. Next, the examiner will ask you some questions on familiar topics. So it's things like home, family, work, studies, or perhaps your interests. Now, this section is designed to help you relax, and they want you to talk naturally, as if it were just a chat, a nice conversation with someone that you had just met. Now, part 2 is a little bit different. The examiner will give you a small task card, which asks you to talk about a particular topic. And you will then be told what points that you need to include in your talk. So you're given this task card and you have 1 minute to prepare and write some notes. You will then be asked to talk for 1 to 2 minutes on this topic. Now, during this 1 or 2 minutes, you will not be interrupted. So it's important to keep talking. And then as a follow-up, the examiner will ask you 1 or 2 questions on the topic from the card. Part 3. Well, part 3 of the speaking test is going to be connected to the subject that was in part 2. So these are questions that are designed to give you more opportunity to discuss more abstract ideas and issues. It's a little bit more difficult, part 3, but anyway, there we are. So the whole time of the speaking test is 11 to 14 minutes. Well, guys, that was an outline of what the IELTS exam is. It's very important to be super familiar with all the different parts. You're going to need to study for each individual part because they are required. You're required to have different skills for each part, really. But guys, if you think that that's interesting, if you would like to find out more, well, perhaps you want to join our IELTS course. Have a look for further details on how to register. You can contact us on the email, the WhatsApp, on this YouTube channel. And remember, guys, hit subscribe. I'm going to have lots more videos that are going to help you out and going to help you to ace that IELTS. All right, guys, great to speak to you. Take care now. Bye.